matchup. Welcome to the Bobcat Sports Network for Acrobatics and Tumbling here from the campus of Frostburg State University as the Frostburg State Bobcats return home to take on the MEC foe West Liberty Hilltoppers. Colin Kirkwood joining you here for this one as we preview Frostburg State coming into this matchup 2-0 on the young season. The last time out for the Bobcats, that was a February 25th road contest at newly formed Notre Dame College in South Euclid, Ohio, a 261-169 win for the Frostburg State Bobcats as they continue their hot start 2-0. There'll be plenty of home cooking coming up on this schedule for the Frostburg State Bobcats, and the opposing West Liberty Hilltoppers getting set to go here as we get ready to kick off this meet of the two. It's the compulsory event here as we start out the Acro Heat with the West Liberty Hilltoppers. Bit of a balance issue over there on the left side to start out the things for the Hilltoppers, but over on the right side at the top of that formation, we saw number 0, Kayla Gandy. She's the most recent Mountain East Conference Acrobatics and Tumbling Athlete of the Week. She's a sophomore from Washington, Pennsylvania. She's contributed to season highs in 8 different events, especially in the last win for the West Liberty Hilltoppers as we take a look at their overall record. 2-2, they started out with rather tough competition. Started out their season at number 1 Baylor, as well as Gannon, a regional opponent that's fared pretty well in the acrobatics and tumbling range. Went 0-2 to start out, but they've rebounded well here. 2 wins in a row so far for the Hilltoppers. A Glenville State home victory on February 19th, 249-248. Close one, but they were able to pull that one out. And then Stevenson on February 26th, a 246-198 win over Stevenson at home. West Liberty will spend the next 4 meets on the road before they return home April 2nd for a tri-meet with Davis and Elkins and Fairmont State. Waiting on Frostburg State here to start out their portion of event number 1 of the Acro Heat. Don't forget 10 possible points here, and that's 2 groups from each team out there, just like you saw the first time. Looks like they're just about ready here. Frostburg State coming in with high hopes this season, looking to find a way to capture the conference and host the postseason meet here on the campus of Frostburg State University. Last season went on the road and fought tough in the championship matchup at Fairmont State. Unfortunately, didn't come out on the right end for their sake. They'll have a pretty heavy schedule coming up here later on into March and April. They will be hitting the road to visit Baylor as well on March 22nd, as well as Quinnipiac on April 1st. 2 interesting matchups for this team as we await on them to get ready to get started in their portion. Of course, in event 1, and it looks like Frostburg State is ready to go here, so let's have a listen to the Frostburg State Bobcats. Solid work there for Frostburg State coming out at the beginning of this meet here. And, of course, you saw on the right side, the top portion there of that formation for the Frostburg State Bobcats, number 8, that's Abby Baker, the previous acrobatics and tumbling athlete of the week for Frostburg State, a junior here at Frostburg State. Functions in top and tumbler positions from Berlin, Maryland. At the time when she was named, competed in 12 heats in the team event for Frostburg State during their non-conference win over King right here in Bobcat Arena. 6 heats that scored a 9.5 or higher during the meet, including a 9.8 in the compulsory pyramid and a 9.8 as well in the sync pyramid. She'll look to will the squad forward here later on. Good start for them as we get ready to move on into the pyramid heat now. Once again, 2 groups from each team in this. And of course, this entire event one, the only event in which teams perform the exact same skills. You'll see no variation out there, really just trying to get started in this and showing off the basics. And as you work on the basics here, the goal is to build on forward and get prepared for things that are coming later on. The Hilltoppers getting set to go here in the pyramid heat of event number 1. Let's have a listen in. That's a good way to get themselves back on the right foot after a bit of trouble towards the left side of their initial formation to get things going. Looks like we have our first score from the acro segment coming in for the West Liberty Hilltoppers. That's going to be a 6.95 in favor of the Hilltoppers. Still waiting on the acro score for Frostburg State, and they'll be stepping to the mat here momentarily for their portion of the pyramid of event number 1. These compulsory skills that you're seeing here in event number 1 are considered to be the building blocks for collegiate acrobatics and tumbling. They also serve as the foundation, like I had stated earlier, for teams to build. And they can take from what they practice here and select optional skills for other events to move forward on if they want to build on and continue to display. One of the real primary purposes here for both of these teams as we get started for this compulsory is being safe. Safety is one of the number 1 keys here. These compulsory skills allow for safe progression of the skill difficulty, as you'll see that continue to build throughout this event as more things start to get piled on the later we go into this. Frostburg State will be back in action coming up later on this month, March 12th. There'll be a senior day tri-meet here on the campus of Frostburg State as the East Stroudsburg Warriors, as well as St. Leo University from Florida, making their way up here to Western Maryland for that. And it looks like Frostburg State is ready to go for their pyramid portion here. Let's have a listen. Looks like the score now for Frostburg State from the acro heat has hit the score column right now. Keep in mind, West Liberty had a bit of trouble towards the left side of their formation in the beginning of that, and they registered a 6.95. Frostburg State on the opposite end for the acro portion at the beginning of this compulsory event, a 9.20 for the Bobcats. So a pretty healthy lead to get things started here as the West Liberty score for the pyramid heat now starting to trickle in. Previously before this one, and looks like the Hilltoppers are starting to get back on the ball here, a 9.50 registered for West Liberty. And these will continue to be tallied up, and when we get to the end of event number 1, we'll have a full event tally to put on the score keep. Colin Kirkwood with you here, as well as Max Bourne, the video director for Bobcat Sports Network. The two-man crew getting it done here this afternoon. Looks like West Liberty is ready to go here for the toss heat. 2 groups from each team once again. Let's check it out. A couple of the things that the officials have been looking for throughout the beginning of this and will continue to look at throughout the entirety here. You can keep your eyes on this as well at home. You'll see the continuity of skills continuing throughout the entirety of this event. Balance, that's going to be a big portion towards the top of those formations. 3-second holds at the top. You'll hear the counting throughout the entirety thanks to our crowd microphone. For strong catches at the base of the formations as well. Saw 2 solid catches towards the bottom there. Even those dismounts, the landings coming out of the catches as well. Very, very important for this all together. Frostburg State getting set to come out. We'll see their portion of the toss heat now. All of these scores out of 10 possible points. Looks like the Frostburg State Pyramid score is in from last turnout. It's a 9.75 for the Bobcats. Waiting on Frostburg State to take the mat here for the toss heat of event number 1. You can just see the confidence in these young ladies as they make their way off the mat here. Starting out strong defending their home floor so far in this one. Of course, this compulsory event showcases the diverse skill set viewers will see throughout the meet, demonstrating synchronization, strength, stability, and a variety of body shapes. You've seen it so far here on this. In sync on both sides throughout the majority as West Liberty's rebounded with a very solid 9-5. We're waiting on their toss score to come in, as well as Frostburg State's toss score that you just saw. So we'll move into the tumbling heat now. The last portion of event number 1. 8 student athletes from each team out there. And this event will include not just one form of tumbling. You'll see standing tumbling and running tumbling in this. Hilltoppers getting ready to come to the mat here momentarily. We'll have scores for you shortly.
And now we have our final heat of the compulsory event, which is the tumbling heat. And first onto the mat is West Liberty.
Great landing for the Hilltoppers towards the end of that running portion of tumbling. Frostburg State will close out the event momentarily. You'll see the replay on the screen here. Take a look at this. You can't ask for much more than that. Just about perfect on the landing. These skills that are being showcased in event number 1, they're all predetermined by the NCATA. There's a committee for this, the compulsory committee, and they revise these every 3 years as the sport continues to grow. You see new programs all across the country continuing to pop up year in and year out. Most recently, West Virginia State of the Mountain East Conference making the motions to join this group in this conference. Looks like we have toss scores now, starting with the West Liberty Hilltoppers. That'll be an 8-9-0 for West Liberty, and Frostburg State a 9-4-5. Solid showing for the Bobcats. They'll close things out here in event number 1. Coming up shortly.
Next up in the tumbling heat is Frostburg State.
Might have been a little bit of minor issues peaking up there for Frostburg State. A little bit out of sync towards the beginning of that, but other than that, nothing really sticking out majority-wise. Take a look here once again. You can watch the rushing aspect for the Bobcats. Solid outing here. Looks like the final score for the Hilltoppers has made their way in for the tumbling portion here of event number 1. It's a 7-7-5 for the Hilltoppers and a event 1 total score of 33-100. We'll wait on Frostburg State score as we get ready to move into event number 2. This is where we step into the acro event. And each of these 3 events that you'll see have a 45-second time limit. We'll be back with the scores for Frostburg State, and we'll see who takes an early lead coming up shortly here. And it looks like we have the final scores here for event number 1.
The acro heat, West Liberty finishes with a score of 6.95, and Frostburg State with a score of 9.2.
Frostburg State's final score for the tumbling portion, an 8-3-5. And that will be a total for Frostburg State of 36.750 as they take about a 3-point lead over West Liberty at the end of event number 1. We'll get set to go for the acro event momentarily. Logan Walsh briefing the fine folks out there of the current scores. Event number 2 coming up shortly here on the Bobcat Sports Network. Stick around.
We now move on to our acro event. The first heat will be the 5 element. First up with a starting value of 9.75 is West Liberty, featuring athletes number 8, Jillian Hartz, number 10, Mala Paternoster, number 11, Dana Kalbarski, number 20, Paige Lawrence, and number 30, Abby Swinderman.
West Liberty starts us out in the 5-element heat. I want to particularly highlight the effort towards the bottom of that formation there in base number 30. Abby Swinderman, the senior from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, did a really fantastic job there of saving things from disaster, showing off a lot of strength at the bottom of that formation for the Hilltoppers. Should save them a couple of points, and a bit of a shaky performance there to start out event number 2. Each of these heats has a required number of elements and must include a specific level of skill difficulty. Of course, in the midst of the 5-element right now, they'll continue to grow to the 6-element and then the 7-element as we close out event number 2. Waiting on Frostburg State to start out heat number 1, the 5-element heat, coming up shortly.
Next up, in the 5 element with a starting value of 10 is Frostburg State, featuring athletes number 8, Abby Baker, number 9, Angelique Bateman, number 14, Layton Spar, number 24, Caitlin Amia, and number 28, Natalie Anders.
Frostburg State showing well there towards the bottom portion of the 5-element heat. Coming up the 6-element heat now following this. This is heat number 2 of event number 2, 2 out of 3. Each of these teams out there, you're seeing this, they're creating their own sequences to meet the heat requirements, and that really allows them to select based on their skills and their strengths, and they can choose to play towards it there. And you saw strength, no pun intended, for Frostburg State, a big portion of their 5-element heat. The 6-element heat coming up here for West Liberty. Once again, that's going to be a group of 4 student athletes making their way out onto the floor for the Hilltoppers. Exciting times over at the Hilltop as they'll be hosting the NCATA Finals this year, April 27th through the 29th at the ASRC. Looks like they're just about ready to take the floor. Let's take in the West Liberty Hilltoppers here. Might have just been a tick too early there on both of the dismounts. We'll see if that comes back to be a problem on the score sheet for these Hilltoppers, but their score is in for West Liberty for the 5-element heat. That is an 8-5 for West Liberty. Frostburg State will take the mat momentarily for their 6-element heat portion, and looks like we actually have the 5-element heat score for Frostburg State. That is a 9-4-0. Frostburg State really starting to pile it on a bit here out of the gates in the 5-element heat. Waiting on their 6-element heat run coming up here. All of the things that go into good execution for this entire event number 2. You'll see strong body position of the top, stability from the base members, and you really have to work on maintaining your balance. Frostburg State coming to the mat for the 6-element. Just a bit off pace there towards the end of that for Frostburg State. Not sure how much that will penalize them in the long run, but of course this Frostburg State program, 12th in the preseason NCATA polls. Already took on the 11th ranked King at the beginning of the year. And that of course was a 270-256 victory right here from Bobcat Arena. See a couple of ranked foes later on in the year. Number 1, Baylor. That'll be a road trip for Frostburg State. Number 4, Quinnipiac, also in that stretch as well. Both of those on the road. Number 7, Fairmont State, always so good in the Mountain East Conference. West Liberty came in at 15th as well, part of this poll here. Quite the region here we have for acrobatics and tumbling. Looks like the next score sheet is in here for the Hilltoppers in the 6-element heat. That is a 9-1-5 for West Liberty as we motion on into the 7-element heat. Once again, out of a possible 10 points, still will be a group of 4 student athletes out there. As you've been seeing, and you might be able to pick up at home, the overall difficulty comes from the connection of skills in the sequence or the ability to maintain the control, continuity, and stability throughout. The continuity has been a problem, actually, for both of these teams so far. The 7-element heat for the Hilltoppers. Let's have a listen. Solid way to round things out there for the Hilltoppers. Waiting on Frostburg State to step up here, and we'll close out event number 2 with the Bobcats portion of the 7-element heat. Got a chance here. Want to give our well wishes to Assistant Athletic Director Ben Crowder, wherever he's watching from right now. All of our thoughts are with you. 7 element coming up for the Bobcats right after this. And just like that, event number 2 has come and gone, and we'll get ready to move into event number 3. That is the Pyramid event. You'll see 3 portions of event number 3. You'll see the inversion heat, the synchronized heat, and the open heat. Once again, all 3 of these out of 10 possible points. We'll break down the inversion heat here once we get these scores to close out event number 2. At this time, Frostburg State, after the first event, leads 36.75 to 33-1. And we'll have that tallied in with the event 2 scores coming up here momentarily. Looks like now that we have compiled the full score sheet for the full portion of event number 2, closing out the 7-element heat for the West Liberty Hilltoppers with a 9.200 and Frostburg State with a 9.450. And the running total we'll get to momentarily, but the event number 2 total for West Liberty, a 26.600. And for Frostburg State, a 28.050. A running total now, West Liberty 59.700 and Frostburg State 64.800. We'll get ready to move forward now into event number 3, the pyramid event, like we stated earlier. 3 heats part of this. This is the inversion heat as we get ready to start things out. This heat, of course, based off the name, it's got to include an inverted position here. Hilltoppers taking the floor. Once again, all of these heats here in event number 3, all 45-second time limits per each heat. This one, there's a little bit more variety here. These can include a varying number of student athletes. Waiting on Frostburg State's inversion heat attempt coming up shortly.
Next up in the inversion heat is Frostburg State with a starting value of 10.
Just take a moment and think about all the different things that are going into the top portion of that structure there. The concentration, the strength, so many different things going into executing that perfectly. Take a look at it here once again. Just quite the feat of strength. You can tell Frostburg State jazzed up after that. The synchronized heat coming up now. Second portion of event number 3. This will be 2 groups performing identical pyramids side by side. West Liberty takes the mat to get us rolling.
Next up we have the synchronized heat. First up with a starting value of 10 is West Liberty.
These pyramids that you're seeing out there feature 3 different levels, each of which all include entry portions, structure portions, as well as a dismount. All of that wrapped up in to make event number 3, what you're seeing in front. Frostburg State's synchronized heat coming up. Looks like both of the scores from the inversion heat have made their way in. West Liberty with an 8.60 and Frostburg State with a 9.70. Frostburg State's synchronized heat coming up shortly.
Next up with the synchronized pyramid is Frostburg State with a starting value of 10.
Already moving into the third portion of event number 3, the third and final heat. This is the open heat. No specific requirements here in this one. Gives these teams a chance to show off a little bit of creativity. Throughout the entirety of this event 3, these officials have been watching for stability of the structure itself. A hold by the top of the formations for 3 seconds following the entry, as well as a smooth dismount that ends with either a catch or a landing. West Liberty gets ready for the open heat to close out event number 3 on their side shortly. The synchronized heat score for the West Liberty Hilltoppers from the turn prior to this one, a 9.400. Looks like Frostburg State also has their score as well for the synchronized heat, and it'll be a 9.75. Frostburg State will close out event number 3 with their open heat portion and send us into halftime coming up. Mind-blowing strength down there from the base number 12, Alexis Palmieri, the junior from Monroe Township, New Jersey. Able to hold that composure and the strength to keep that entire formation up for that long. Cap tips there for sure. We'll get our final scores and the halftime score coming up shortly here once things are tabulated. And now it looks like we have the final scores here to finish out event number 3 in the open heat. West Liberty with a 9.700. Frostburg State with a 9.95. Just about flawless there. An event total for West Liberty of 27.700. And an event total for event 3 for Frostburg State of a 29.400. Frostburg State at the break, 94.200 to 87.400 for West Liberty. Frostburg State, sizable lead as we head into the halftime mark here. Coming out of the halftime break here, Frostburg State with a lead, 94.200 to 87.400 for West Liberty. We move into event number 4. This is the toss heat now. You'll see 3 heats in this. First up is the 450 salto heat. 10 possible points here in this one. It'll be a group once again of up to 5 student athletes out there for the West Liberty Hilltoppers. flip there for the Hilltoppers to get themselves going. These tosses can include 3 to 4 bases and 1 top, and that top will execute a twist, a flip, or both in the air before being caught at the bottom. This entire event is hugely based on timing. It's very important in this dynamic event. Difficulty continues to build here as we head towards the final team event. That's a whole bunch of fun when we get there to that point. But Frostburg State's 450 salto coming up here shortly.
Next up in the 450 salto is Frostburg State with a starting value of 9.4.
Great height there on the way up. Take a look at this one more time here. Good support from the bottom and flung right up, and great catch. Can't ask for much more than that. Moving into the synchronized heat now. Once again, 10 possible points in this one. This will be 2 groups of up to 5. We'll have scores coming in for the 450 salto coming up, but West Liberty will get the synchronized heat going here momentarily.
Next up, we have the synchronized heat. First onto the mat with a starting value of 9.4 is West Liberty.
Looks like a bit of a stumble on the right side there for West Liberty. In the bottom of their portion to be number 11, Hannah Kolarski, the senior from Baldwin High in Pittsburgh, PA. You saw that towards the right side of your screen there. Took a little bit of a tumble on that catch. Looks like everything's all right out of that, though, but that will be a score deductor for the Hilltoppers. Frostburg State's synchronized heat coming up. Looks like the initial 450 salto score for West Liberty has been entered into the database. It'll be an 8.400. Frostburg State synchronized heat coming up here. Event number 4 from Bobcat Arena on a Friday night.
Next up in the synchronized toss
Frostburg State coming off rather successful once again as they close out the synchronized heat portion. We now move into the open heat. Final heat of event number 4. Once again, still 10 possible points here to be had. This will be a group of up just 5 this time, a singular group of 5. These catches that you've been seeing, the top should maintain a hollow body position, just about flat when you come on the way down there. If the top finds their head or toes a little bit higher than the hips, that might actually mess up the scoring of the catch, and you could see some deductions there. The tops also should be caught near the base's shoulders. A little bit too high or a little too low on those. Once again, you'll see a deduction in the scores. West Liberty's synchronized heat. Looks like they have a 6.65 coming in, so that little bit of a stumble that you saw in the second heat came back to bite them a bit. Here come the Hilltoppers. Open heat coming up. Frostburg State will wrap up this event momentarily here. Once the Bobcats finish up their open heat, we'll move into the longest event, event number 5. That is the tumbling event. That's where things get really exciting. Duos, trios, quads, aerials, 6-element, the open, all packed into this before the grand finale, the team event at the end. Stay tuned, Frostburg State's open heat. Closing out event number 4 coming up.
Next up at the open toss is Frostburg State with a starting value of 9.9.
Event number 4 has come and gone. We'll wait for the scores to wrap it up, and we'll update those running totals, and we'll start talking about event number 5 shortly coming up. And now the scores for event number 4 have concluded, closing out in the ending open heat for the West Liberty Hilltoppers with an 8-4 double-O, and Frostburg State in their open heat scoring a 9-7-5-0. West Liberty's event 4 total a 23-4-5-0, and Frostburg State's event 4 total is a 27-9-0-0. Frostburg State continues to lead as we round the bend into event number 5, 122.100 to 110.850. And it looks like they're making a correction here. The synchronized heat for Frostburg State has been corrected to a 9-0-0. So now we will step into event number 5, and we will start with the duo portion of the tumbling event. 60 possible points out of the entirety of the 6 heats here. 10 possible in the duo. That's 2 student athletes that you'll see out here, and they need to execute identical synchronized tumbling passes. Out there for West Liberty, that was number 0. Once again, Kayla Gandy, talked about her, the reigning Acrobatics and Tumbling MEC Athlete of the Week. And that was Jillian Hartz, number 8, the sophomore from Duquesne, Pennsylvania, out of West Mifflin High School. The 2 starting things out in event number 5 for the West Liberty Hilltoppers. Frostburg State's duo will step to the mat momentarily, and we'll move into the trios. Frostburg State's duo in the books here. Number 14, Lakin Spar, the junior from Strasburg, Pennsylvania, as well as number 8, Abby Baker, the junior from Berlin, Maryland. And of course, Baker, previously one of the MEC's Athletes of the Week. The trios getting set to go here now. Trouble on the dismount there on the far side for the trios for West Liberty. You'll see on the replay on the far side, number 27, Savannah Rinchetti, a freshman from New Eagle, Pennsylvania, Ringgold High, home of the Rams. Had a bit of trouble landing that one. Frostburg State will step in for their trios momentarily. You'll see these students just only once throughout the entirety of this year. They can only compete and tumble in one of these sections. And you're seeing a lot of the power and a lot of the bounce coming out of these student athletes across the floor here. There's no springs in these floors. All that power that you're seeing out there in this tumbling all comes from self-generated power from these athletes. Trios for the Bobcats coming up. Trios in the books now for Frostburg State. Maya Morant, number 1, the junior from Gambrillis, Maryland. Nava Marie Rose, the junior, number 3 as well, part of that, number 32 in the trios for Frostburg State. Marian Pastore, the freshman from Norwood, Massachusetts. We'll flip it on into the quads now. And you guessed it, 4 student athletes out there synchronized. West Liberty takes the floor for that momentarily. Quads in the books for the Hilltoppers. Frostburg State will step up momentarily here, cruising right along, already at the halfway point of event number 5. Following this, we'll have the aerial, 6-element, and open heats of event number 5. There's the quad for Frostburg State off the floor. Five, 6, 12, and 17. Mia Ivanov, the sophomore from Clark Summit. Caitlin Bolton, number 6, the junior out of Leesburg, Virginia. This is Palmieri, number 12, the junior, once again, Monroe Township, New Jersey. As we get set here for Frostburg State to move it forward. Also closing that out, number 17, Sydney Green, the junior from Lewis, Delaware. Now we get ready for the aerial heat here. An individual pass coming across here, one salto before final salto in the passing as well, so get ready for this. As we'll switch the gears up a little bit here, halfway through event number 5.
First up is the aerial pass. On the mat first from West Liberty with a starting value of 9.6 is number 0, Caitlin Gandy.
Kayla Gandy, number 0, the individual for the Hilltoppers to kick off this portion of event number 5. Solid all-around effort there. Might have had a little bit of trouble on the dismount, but we'll see if that ends up coming back to bite her at the end. We'll check out the scores at the end of each event from now on. And we'll have them all added up. No more waiting in anticipation. Frostburg State's individual in the aerial coming up shortly. It's Lakin Spar, number 14, making her way off the floor there. A state qualifier in gymnastics from 2012 through 2019. Comes from a gymnastics background for Frostburg State. Did a bit of competitive cheering. You can see how all of those kind of blend together into the background of acro and tumbling. The 6 element coming up now for West Liberty. The Hilltoppers, another individual pass coming up here. 6 elements only in this one. We'll see what the Hilltoppers bring to the table. This is Audrey Prater, number 5. A freshman for the Hilltoppers, all the way from Wiley, Texas. Making her way to the Hilltop. Frostburg State will answer momentarily. Fantastic execution there from Maya Morant, number 1. Quite the decorated background for Mariah. 3-time Maryland State team member in gymnastics from 2016 to 2018. Placed 3rd on the floor at the Level 10 state championships as a junior in 2019. The accolades go on and on for Miss Morant. We'll move on forward now. Once again, this is the open heat now as we get ready to close out event number 5. An individual pass here, no requirements on this one. West Liberty will bring that to the floor momentarily. Jillian Hartz, number 8 for the West Liberty Hilltoppers, a bronze medalist at the World Championships qualifier with Rain Athletics at the National Cheerleaders Association Small Senior number 6 Championships. She competed as a regional level 9 gymnast at Premier Gym and Cheer before making her way to the Hilltop from Duquesne, Pennsylvania, majoring in pre-medicine. Frostburg State will answer here with their portion of the open, and then we'll get ready and get set for the finale in event number 6, the team event. Whole lot of fun for that. Number 8, Abby Baker, closing things out there. Going to save herself a bit there on the dismount at the end. Baker earned a spot in Gymnastics Nationals in 2012. A couple of regional appearances as well. Stephen Decatur High School, Berlin, Maryland, her hometown. But regionals in 2012, 2013, 15, 17, and 18. State gymnastics as well, 2008 through 2017. You get ready to roll here for event number 6. This is the team event. There's 110 possible points to be found out there. And quite the list to go through here. The requirements, first off, it's going to be a maximum of 24 student athletes here. You'll see 30 acro elements in this. 4 groups must synchronize a 3-element sequence, 20 points to be found there. 5 tosses, 3 of them must be synchronized. There's another 20. 4 pyramids in this, 2 of them need to be synchronized, another 20 points to be found. 21 standing tumbling passes, 12 of those to be synchronized. Once again, you guessed it, another 20 to be found. 21 running tumbling passes, 12 of those to be synchronized again for another potential 20 points. And then there's a dance routine at the end, a minimum of 2 8 counts for 10 points to be found. All of that stuff that I just mentioned to you crammed in there and choreographed in a 2-minute, 45-second set routine. All of this stuff out there, all pulled together from things you've been seeing all evening long, put together into one total thing, waiting on the scores to be compiled here from event number 5, and we'll have those fully for you momentarily.
We have
the team event for the West Liberty Hilltoppers. Frostburg State and West Liberty. Frostburg State with a event 5 total of 53,275 for a 175,375. The Hilltoppers getting ready here. We'll check out their mark after the team event. West Liberty closing out their action this evening. But before that, in their event 5, they racked up a 48.725 total throughout the entirety of event number 5. And as you can see on your screen, Frostburg State leading 175.375 to 159.575. And once again, Frostburg State's running total throughout the entirety of event number 5 was a 53.275. The Bobcats will take the floor now for their portion of the team event coming up shortly. It's quite interesting, so these officials can keep track of all the things you're seeing going on out there at one time. These teams will submit a diagram prior to the meet, and that diagram outlines the order of the skills and the placement on the mat of where to look to see all those different things, so they can keep track of all the activity going on. Pretty interesting stuff. Let's check out Frostburg State. Looks like they're ready, and so are we. Frostburg State in the team event. Ready to go now.
And now with a starting value of 102.51 onto the mat, your Frostburg State Bobcats! Learn more about acrobatics and tumbling, the fastest growing collegiate sport for women, by visiting the NCATA.org. You'll find the 2023.
And that'll wrap things up. We'll wait on the final scores to be tallied here. While we have this chance, we'll preview and take a look at the next upcoming contest for Frostburg State. March 12th will be a home tri-meet against St. Leo and East Stroudsburg. You'll be able to get that right here on the Bobcat Sports Network at 1 p.m. Senior day for that. And already quickly, Frostburg State on their last potential home meet here could find themselves hosting the MEC Championships. They find a way to capture the regular season championship. Stick around, though. We'll get those final scores for the team event, and then we'll have the meet totals. Also in the future here on the Bobcat Sports Network, a couple of lacrosse matchups coming up. We'll be able to get tomorrow's action, a neutral site contest over towards the opposite side of the state against number 1 Tampa. Should be interesting from Boyd's, Maryland at 1 p.m. Following that, a home Wednesday afternoon matchup against Malone. The Pioneers coming to town. And on Saturday, the ECC and GMAC Challenge Cup. The men's lacrosse once again taking on the Walsh Cavaliers out of Ohio. Looks like those scores are making their way in here, but make sure you come back and join the Bobcat Sports Network for those other events, as well as the next Acro and Tumbling meet here. Once again, March 12th against East Stroudsburg and St. Leo right here on BSN. And there you have it. The final totals on your screen right now for the team event. The West Liberty Hilltoppers with a 78-890, and Frostburg State with an 84-10. And the meet total for the victorious Bobcats, 255-785, and for the Hilltoppers, 238-465. The West Liberty Hilltoppers dropping now to 2-3. Frostburg State improving here as their season continues to chug right along, and things aren't going to get any easier on the schedule. But with another win, they find themselves 3-0. One more time, make sure you come back for more Acro and Tumbling action here on March 12th, a Sunday, 1 p.m. for the Senior Day Tri-Meet against the East Stroudsburg Warriors, as well as the St. Leo Lions, here on the Bobcat Sports Network. Thank you to Max Bourne, the video director, here this evening. I've been Colin Kirkwood. Good night, Bobcat fans.